What's Chirpin' Crickets? This is Kim from Kim Takes On. I'm Kim. Hi. This is my co-producer, Terrence the Wonder Duck. Terrence says hi and hopes you're having a great week. Okay, so this show was going to be about something else, and I completely changed it, so you'll have to wait a little while to get what the show was going to be about. Still going to do it, but it's going to take a couple more weeks. The reason that I changed that, other than the fact that I tend to do this show like a hummingbird that's just eating a pound of sugar, everything's kind of all over the place and stuff like that, which I kind of think you guys have figured out by now. I kind of hope. Anyway, because something else came along and took my other show idea and went, yeah, we're not doing that, and then yeeted it out of the way. So, as I have mentioned previously on this show, because it's my show, I am a wrestling fan. I have been a wrestling fan, and I'm going to admit to an age thing now. So I have been a wrestling fan for 40 years. Wow. That is effed up. And I know that usually I try to be kind of kooky and wacky and funny on my show and be all, honk, honk, clown nose, and because the world out there is full of sad and depressing things. And if you're taking time out of your busy whatever to come and listen to me, I hope I can bring you a smile or a laugh usually and stuff like that. This is one show where there will be some humor, probably. It will probably be bleak or dark humor, or however you want to word it. But this is going to be one of those I ain't playing shows. And I have already been told by my sweetums, my puddin', my angel, TC, who is the person that puts up with all of my crap, and also edits this show. Thank goodness, because goodness knows if I did it, we actually don't want to think about that. I've also been asked by him, very politely, because he's definitely a gentleman, to watch my language. If I had a dime, I could buy my own island. Anyway, so I have been asked, politely, as I said, to watch my language, as in I can use everything but the F word. So, apparently I can use shit, damn it, screw you, Sorry, babe. Right now he's going, I can't believe. Right now he's going, she's so amusing. It's his favorite line from the movie House on Haunted Hill. He does a pretty good Vincent Price impression, I think. And I am amusing. But this is not going to be a fun show. This is going to be a Kim is going to rant show. Now, I'm warning you that up front. And I'm going to rant about wrestling. So, warning you again. As I said, I have been a wrestling fan for 40 years. Oh my gosh. That is screwed up because it makes me realize exactly how old I am, which is none of your damn business. Except that my birthday's coming up in 2 months. Shop early, shop often. But as a wrestling fan for 40 years, eek, I have seen a lot of crazy stuff. I have seen a lot of moments that I'm just completely been like, wow, that was nuts. I was at a moment that I didn't realize was, wow, that was nuts until the next day. And it's a moment that people still talk about. Yes, you're looking at somebody who was actually at the Wonderland Ballroom the night of the mass transit incident. I was there. I actually talked about it on one of my previous shows, Ring Around the Rosie. If you want to go back and listen to that, go for it. But I've seen my share of blood as a wrestling fan. I've seen my share of crazy stuff happen. I've seen stuff with fire, not it live. I mean, I've seen things on TV with fire. Fire, thumbtacks, cages, people falling off cages, people falling through cages. All kinds of crazy things because wrestling, professional wrestling, and this is not meant as a slam, See what I did there? Slam wrestling. It's a pun. Just go with it. This is not intended as an insult or a slight to anyone out there who is actually a professional wrestler, because I have nothing but respect for all of the athletes out there that are pro wrestlers. But pro wrestling is nuts. Pro wrestling is insane. And we obviously love it because we've been watching it for years and years and years. And for some of us, there's more years tacked onto that. And y'all can shut up. Oh, you're snickering out there. I can hear you snickering out there. Yes, I can. I might be older, but I refuse to grow up. So I know some people are probably going, Kim, what the hell is all this in aid of? Well, so glad you asked, crickets. Over the weekend, AEW had a pay-per-view. AEW All Elite Wrestling had their All Out pay-per-view in Chicago. I hope everybody who was at the show had a wonderful time. I hope you all got home safely and, and everybody had a great time and all that stuff like that. This is me being a conscientious person. Now we're going to get into the crazy shit. This show was nuts. I mean, there was quite a lot. I wouldn't say there was quite a lot of blood, because there was some blood. Believe me, I've seen shows where there have been more blood than that. A lot more. And a lot of crazy things happened. Some of them were definitely crazier than others. You don't often see a Chicago street fight between two female wrestlers, but Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, who I'm pissed at, but that's okay. They knocked it out of the park. They both did amazing. And they really sold the fact that they, don't like each other. And Willow and Chris are both amazing, wonderful athletes, and I think they're both terrific, even though storyline-wise, I'm still mad at Chris. Angry at Chris. You shouldn't say mad. Dogs get mad, people get angry. It's one of the grammar things There's 2 grammar rules that I remember. Dogs get mad, people get angry, and clothes are hung, people are hanged. Is anybody surprised that those are the 2 grammar rules that I remember, that they involve things like that? I'm not surprised. I really think some of my counselors were right back in school. I'd love to see what they said on their notes and stuff, because they would sit there and they would write notes, whatever, and they're like, well, why do you feel that way? It's like, it's so weird. You look at kids in school now and stuff like that, and I'm like, there is no friggin' way I would want to go back to school with the shit that kids have to go to school with. I thought I had it bad when I was in school. I'm like, forget it, never mind. Kids have to deal with way more shit than we had. At least we didn't have to go through metal detectors and shit when I was in school. Anyway, and there were other things that happened at this pay-per-view that were pretty frigging bananas, including Bryan Danielson almost being unalived by Jon Moxley and a plastic bag, which the crowd rightfully chanted, "This is murder" at. Well, sort of rightly, because it was actually attempted murder, not... Yeah, and guess who also reads too many mysteries and watches too much Law and Order? Hi. Yeah, it's Terrence. No, it's me. I admit it's me. But, I mean, that was bananas. I'd also like to say it's something I've never seen before in a wrestling show, but it's not. That's the one of the things that were done that actually did make me uncomfortable, because it is a plastic bag, and there's a reason that this writing all over it says don't let near children or small pets. Now I guess they're going to have to change the bag so it says, do not allow children or small pets or professional wrestlers to play with this plastic bag. Blah, blah, whatever. It's called CYA. And then, of course, there was the Lights Out match that happened at the show with Swerve Strickland going against Hangman Adam Page. Now, a Lights Out match, which they explained about 90 kabillion times. A Lights Out match is a match where the promoter is basically saying these 2 people hate each other so much that when they get in this ring and try and unalive each other, we, the promoters, are taking no responsibility for what they do, for what happens to them. They can do whatever they want to each other, with whatever they want to each other, and on their heads be it. Now, a lights out match is not something that you have when it's just wrestler A being like, I don't like you, and wrestler B being like, well, I don't like you either. No. This is the kind of match where it's wrestler A going, I hate you and I want you dead, and wrestler B going, same thing. Sorry, wrestling hand puppets. It's just, I thought it was funny. It sounded funny in my head. Y'all don't want to go in there. You don't. It's scary and dark, and there's cobwebs and mice and stuff. But anyway, so this war, I'm not even going to call it a feud. I mean, calling this a feud is like calling the H-bomb a firecracker. The conflagration, I suppose, between Swerve Strickland and Adam Page has been going on for months, which is how you build a good wrestling feud. With you know, all kinds of things happening which are illegal because we still live in a society. The last time I checked, I mean, we had, you know, Swerve Strickland breaking into Adam Page's house and threatening his child, his infant child. We had this past week where Page upped the ante and decided to burn down Swerve Strickland's childhood home, which he had recently just bought. He had, you know, and they made this big deal about it. They ended the show on Dynamite, and it was one of those wow moments. You know, it definitely was a holy shit, that just happened moment. And then we get this match, which everybody knew was going to be insane. I don't think everybody knew how insane it was going to be. I didn't. I admit that. This match was friggin' nuts. This match was forking off the fudging scale. You know, you had everything getting involved in this. You had the actual cage itself. You had cinder blocks. You had syringes, which may or may not have been full of chemicals. I would think that they were, because it was taken out of, you know, like something that had to be torn open to take it out. I don't think they just actually packed drugs inside the syringes. I don't know. I wouldn't know about things like that. I'm a lady. But this, you know, and there was barbed wire, and there was big sharp pieces of wood, and it was just madness. It was madness and lunacy and insanity, and it made sense. And I know everyone just went, wait a minute, you just said it was all these things and made sense. It did make sense. These are two people that if you were writing this as a movie script, this is the end of the movie before the sequel, that you know there's going to be a sequel. But, you know, you have the big climactic fight at the end of the movie with, you know, the good guy versus the bad guy. You have the whole thing at the end of Avengers Endgame when it's every frigging hero on the planet against Thanos and his army of bad guys. Of course, the big problem with this situation is by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know who's the good guy or the bad guy anymore. All I know is I think both of you need to talk to somebody when Swerve is conscious again, because he's unconscious right now. But y'all both need to talk to somebody, whether it's a priest or a psychiatrist or what. You all both need a come to Jesus moment. I mean, for real. And, you know, the show went off the air, and there were quite a few people online that were like, oh, that was completely going over the top and blah, 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 and whatever. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I mean, did I think it was a little bananas for AEW? Yeah, I did. I mean, like I said, I'm used to worse. I am a fan of Game Changer Wrestling. And those guys, I mean, the things they do to each other, sometimes it's completely out there. Actually, GCW is the first place I ever saw anybody use a syringe in a match. And it actually freaked me out worse then than it did this weekend. So I don't know if that says that I'm jaded or that I'm deeply psychotic. I'm sorry. Does this look like a face that could hurt anybody? Does it? I hope it doesn't. I've been practicing that for years. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just kidding. I'm as harmless as a newborn baby. Rattlesnake. Anyway, no. Violence is not the way, usually. Except in this case, in which case go frickin' nuts, I guess. But, so, this was, like I said, over the weekend. It happened. It's over. We're done. We're on to the next thing. So, today, as I'm herp-derping around on Twitter, I had noticed somebody bringing up a petition. And I was like, petition about what? So I read their Twitter and their tweet, because what do we call it now? I know it's called, is it Twitter X or just X? And if it's X, what do we call the actual tweet? We call it a lowercase x? I don't know. This is the stuff I think about. Pray for me. I think I need to come to Jesus moment every once in a while. Anyway, this person was talking about a petition that is on change.org. And no, I'm not giving you the information about it. Go find it yourself, because I'm already so pissed about it I can't even think straight. Somebody out there put up a petition saying AEW has gone too far with the violence on their show, and we want them banned. We want them taken off television because we're offended. We're going to start this shit again. We're going to start this shit again. To which my response is, oh, hell no, we're not. Now, I know some people out there are going, what is she talking about? I know TC is going, oh no, because he knows what's coming up. As I've mentioned, I've been a wrestling fan for a long time. I've been alive for a long time. I've been alive long enough to remember being a young person in the 80s and dealing with this frickin' bullshit back then. And I know some people out there are older than me. Hello. And you all remember this crap too. And you remember the stuff that happened earlier when you had people out there saying, comic books are dangerous for children because they promote this, that, and the other thing. And why is Batman living with a 9-year-old and blah, 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 and all this other bullshit. You know, seduction of the innocent and all that crap. Their comic books, get the hell over it. And then you had the 80s. The wild, wonderful, neon-soaked 80s, and me all dressed in black. Ta-da. But you had things like the satanic panic of the 80s, which thankfully my parents both were like, this is stupid, because both my parents had brains. You had people like Tipper Gore and the PMRC being like, we can't have our children listening to these kinds of lyrics. What will they think? Think of the children, clutch pearls, blah, blah, stick labels on shit. Weird people being like, oh, kids can't play Dungeons and Dragons. It's a way to open up portals to hell and all this stuff like that. And I'm like, I remember being a teenager and being like, this hammers home the point that adults are stupid. That anything that adults don't understand or don't remember from when they were kids, all of a sudden it's bad and this, that, and the other thing. And we have to ban it. Newsflash. Anytime you try and ban something, it makes it 10 times more desirable. And I got So, thankfully, like I said, I didn't have to deal with any of this crap from my parents. My parents knew I was into D&D. My parents knew I was into heavy metal. My dad was a little bit like, are those dudes? And I'm like, yes, Dad, they're dudes. You know, when he looked at pictures of Poison from like Look What the Cat Dragged In and stuff like that. And I was thinking, yeah, Dad, they're dudes. And I'd do stuff to them that would make you really scared for your daughter. But I never said that out loud because I wasn't an idiot. But, you know, my parents knew I was into wrestling. They knew I was into martial arts movies. They knew I was into horror movies and science fiction and stuff like that. And anything that they knew I was into, they were like, you know, this is not real. This is not something that you can do in real life. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And they'd be like, okay. And that started when I was a little girl. And you know what? By the time I was a teenager, they were like, she's smart enough to know what's going on, what's real and what isn't. If she wants to read her comic books, if she wants to play that Dungeons and whatever, if she wants to listen to this music, she's not hurting herself. She's not hurting anybody else. Let her do it. And I did. And I turned out to be a semi-well-adjusted. I turned out to be me. And you know what? I'm totally fine with that. Because I think the person I am is pretty damn cool. Because she does what she wants. Doesn't hurt anybody else. And doesn't tell people, well, I think that's offensive, so therefore you can't watch it because I think it's offensive. Screw you. And I know some people will be like, oh, but they have a right to put up that petition if they want to, Kim. And you know what? The answer to that is absolutely they do. They have every right to put up that petition if that's how they feel. That's one of the nice things about living in this country. They have a right to say that. I have a right to say, I think that petition is stupid. I think you're overreacting. And if you think I'm going to put up with this sanctimonious pearl-clutching bullshit again and not say, I think you're being a bunch of sanctimonious jerks, you're wrong. I don't, you know, and I'm not saying, like I said before, I'm not saying that match was not crazy. It was a no-holds-barred, non-sanctioned match. What did you think you were going to see? A pillow fight? I don't know what some of these people would have done if they were around when ECW existed. And I mean the real ECW. I don't mean WWECW. I mean the actual Philly ECW. I don't know what some of these people would have done if they'd seen that. They would have clutched their pearls so hard they would have fallen over. Because that stuff was completely mental. And you know what? There was enough people out there that said they loved it. And for you to say like, oh, well, those people are sickos. I'm sorry, where's your medical degree? Can you show me your medical degree that you get to diagnose that someone else is a sicko because they don't like the same thing you like? Are the people who are into MMA sickos? Are the people who are into boxing sickos? Are the people who are into football sickos? No. There's fans. Calm down. I mean, I'm sorry. And I know if I've pissed off anybody out there, if I've made you upset, I'm sorry. But this is just how I feel. And this is how I feel in front of my video, my computer, saying this stuff. Do I think that AEW went a little bit overboard with the plastic bag thing? Yeah, that was kind of like, oh boy, this. And I've seen it in other places as well, and I don't like it then either, simply because there's too much of a chance for something to go wrong. But the people who are being like, oh, think of the children when it comes to the lights out cage match and stuff, and wanting AEW banned and all this stuff like that. I actually saw another petition on Change. They're like, no, we want more violence at AEW, and I'm like, okay, I think you people really opened a jar of worms here, and I just think that's really funny. This has been kind of a different, kind of crazy show. I'm sorry it's not talking about music. I promise, as far as I know, unless something else comes up that's gonna, railroad me into a different kind of conversation. I hope that you'll come back the next time I do a show, which should be in about a week time, a week and a day kind of thing, whenever I do it. And if you have any questions, comments, queries, complaints, platinumroselle@yahoo.com. Please click the like and subscribe on this little video, and hopefully you'll check out the other videos that are on this channel, which are all done by my sweetie, my puddin', my darling TC, who, as I mentioned, puts up with my crap, and also he's the brains behind this outfit. He's the brain, and I'm Pinky, I guess is the best way to look at it. And he's got all these great videos about music and all kinds of fun stuff about music going back decades and stuff like that, and vinyl community stuff. And I hope you all check those out because they're really awesome, and he works super duper hard on those. So that is going to do it for Kim Takes On for another week. And I'm still Kim. This is still Terrence. And we both still hope you have a great week out there. And keep rocking.